The night of January the 17th, 1961, a clearing in the savannah, an hour's drive from Elizabethville, in the breakaway province of Katanga. 3 cars arrive in the dark. Out of them step 3 prisoners, beaten, bound, and barefoot, and the men who will kill them. A firing squad assembles by the headlights, and standing calmly at the edge of the clearing, checking their watches, are officers of the Belgian army. The army of the empire. This country escaped just 7 months ago. The tallest prisoner is 35 years old. 7 months ago, he was the first democratically elected prime minister of the Congo. 7 months ago, kings and presidents shook his hand. Tonight, there will be no trial, no judge, no record. He is placed against a tree. He refuses a blindfold. His name is Patrice Lumumba. And almost everyone he ever trusted, his president, his general, his allies, and 2 of the most powerful nations on earth, has, in one way or another, signed his death warrant. To understand how a man becomes so dangerous that half the world conspires to kill him, you have to go back to the single most electric day in African history. June the 30th, 1960, Independence Day. Kinshasa, then called Leopoldville. The King of Belgium, Baudouin, stands before the new nation and delivers a speech praising colonialism, praising his great-great-uncle Leopold II, the man whose rubber regime killed millions. The polite script says the Congolese should be grateful. Then a slim man in a bow tie, glasses and a goatee rises, unscheduled. Patrice Lumumba, 34 years old, a former postal clerk and beer salesman who taught himself into becoming the greatest orator of his generation. In front of the king, he tells the truth.
No Congolese worthy of the name will ever forget that it was by fighting that our independence has been won.
The hall erupts. The king sits frozen. In 8 minutes, Lumumba electrifies a continent and makes every chancellery in the Western world put a file with his name on it. The punishment begins within 2 weeks. The army mutinies. Then the richest province, Katanga, home to the copper, the cobalt, the uranium that built the Hiroshima bomb, declares independence, propped up by Belgian troops and Belgian mining money. The Congo is being carved up in its first month of life. Lumumba asks the United Nations to intervene. The UN comes, but won't touch Katanga. He asks Washington for help. Washington sees a man who won't take orders, so he makes the fatal move. He asks Moscow for planes and trucks. In the summer of 1960, at the height of the Cold War, that single request rebrands him overnight from inconvenient nationalist to Soviet threat. In August, CIA Director Allen Dulles sends a cable to his station chief in Leopoldville. It reads,
"His removal must be an urgent and prime objective, a high priority of our covert action."
The CIA's top scientist flies to the Congo carrying a tube of poisoned toothpaste meant for the Prime Minister's bathroom. It is never used, the station chief stalls, but Washington's intent is now in writing. At home, the betrayals stack up like dominoes. September the 5th. President Kasavubu, the partner he shared power with, dismisses him illegally over the radio. September the 14th. Colonel Joseph Mobutu, the young aide Lumumba himself had promoted, a man he treated almost as family, seizes power in a coup with CIA money in his pocket. House arrest, UN troops guard his front door, and Mobutu's soldiers wait at the gate. In November, Lumumba slips out in the night, racing east through the rain toward his stronghold in Stanleyville. For 4 days he is free, but he keeps stopping, to speak to villagers, to shake hands, to be Lumumba. At the Sankuru River, December the 1st, Mobutu's soldiers catch him. The UN, ordered neutral, watches him beaten on the airport tarmac and does nothing. For 6 weeks he is held at Thysville military camp. Even there, guards begin listening to him. He is that dangerous with nothing but a voice. So a decision is made, with Belgian officials directing the logistics. Send him to the one place in the Congo where his death is guaranteed. Katanga, the province in open rebellion against him. On the plane, the beatings are so severe the crew locks the cockpit door. From his cell in his final days, he writes a last letter to his wife, Pauline.
Dead or alive, free or in prison, It is not my person that counts. It is the Congo. History will one day have its say. Africa will write its own history, a history of glory and dignity.
That night, in the clearing, the firing squad raises its rifles. 3 volleys. Patrice Lumumba, Maurice Mapolo, and Joseph Okito are buried where they fall. He had been Prime Minister for 81 days. What follows is one of history's ugliest cover-ups. Days later, 2 Belgians return, dig up the bodies, cut them apart, and dissolve them in sulfuric acid, so there can be no grave, no shrine, no martyr's tomb. One of them, a police commissioner named Gérard Souete, keeps a souvenir, a single gold-crowned tooth. He will show it off on television, decades later, like a trophy. For 61 years, that tooth is all of Patrice Lumumba that remains. In June 2022, Belgium finally returns it. It travels home in a coffin, through streets lined with thousands, and is buried in Kinshasa on the anniversary of his independence speech. A state funeral for a single tooth, and for everything it stood for. Mobutu, the man who betrayed him, ruled for 32 years with Western backing and looted the country of billions. But it is Lumumba's face on the banknotes of memory, painted on walls from Kinshasa to Johannesburg, quoted by every generation that dreams of a continent that writes its own history. They dissolved the man in acid. They could not dissolve the idea. This was the story of Patrice Lumumba, told the Sankofa way. Go back and get it. If it moved you, tell us in the comments whose story we should tell next. Until then, stay upright.